that we've never really thought about before, but there's a ton that goes into this. Hi, Kat.
Hello, sir. He loves chit-chatting with us.
And everyone is going to get engaged. This is The Guide Gals, a modern wedding-focused podcast by the experts at Here Comes the Guide. I'm Chelsea, a designer and inspired creative who's probably racked up over 5,000 hours on Pinterest, and the friend who's going to shoot it to you straight.
And I'm Caroline, a social media manager who is obsessed with dogs as ring bearers and will inevitably cry over your wedding video. We've seen it from all sides. We've been brides, planners, bridesmaids, and have worked with standout brands throughout the industry.
Think of us as an extension of your wedding party and hang out with us as we share the ins, outs, ups, and downs of the road to ideal.
Hey everyone, welcome back to The Guide Gals. We're excited to talk about some sparkly, shiny things today, which is always really fun.
Yes, today we are going to take a deep dive into engagement rings and give you a practical guide to buying, all the tips and tricks.
Truly, regardless of whatever you ultimately spend on your engagement ring, one thing is for certain, this is really one of the biggest purchases of your life. Not necessarily due to the dollar amount that you're going to spend, but also because of what it signifies. It's a symbol of unconditional love, and you also want your significant other to love it.
Yes, so how do you choose the right ring? We have tips, terminology, and some frequently asked questions in this episode, which is going to serve as the ultimate guide to buying your engagement ring.
And before we jump into all of that, of course, I need to know, what are we drinking today?
I am drinking like that pre-made. This is like a little special treat. It's like, and it's nothing fancy, but I love it. It's like the Starbucks like pre-made like cold coffee, but like the kind that's like already flavored up. Like I think this one is vanilla latte, but it's like honestly just like flavored milk. Like that's like what it seems, you know, like I know it's like really bad for me and there's not much to it, but it's like so delicious.
That sounds so good.
That's what I'm drinking.
No, I love that.
There's like no effort put in. I just dump it in and it's like ready to go. I love it.
Yeah. No, really, sometimes that's all you need. And it's actually the most like gratifying thing, just to be able to like dump it and go.
Yeah.
Ugh. Okay,
it's
mine.
Delicious.
Oh, so sorry. I interrupted you.
No, it's delicious. That's all I said. That's
okay.
it. What's yours, Caroline?
Mine
I know yours is fancy.
Well, this is what I've been drinking for the past couple of days, like nonstop. This is a brown sugar shaken espresso.
Yum.
They are so easy to make. So let me give you a quick tutorial for you who are listening or watching, because it seriously is super easy. If you have an espresso maker, you're already halfway there. And if you don't, you'll need something like a mocha pot or an AeroPress to make some espresso shots. Or truly do some instant espresso. I don't care. Whatever you want to do, you'll need some espresso. I usually do 2 shots. And then I'll do so I pull my shots. I put in a tablespoon of brown sugar, which sounds like a lot, but it's only 35 calories, which I think is actually pretty good. And then I put it in my mason jar. I usually swirl it around to like melt the brown sugar into the espresso. I add a couple ice cubes, throw a lid on, and shake it. And that adds a frothiness to it that gives it more of a like complex taste or flavor. That's like why you need the ice in there specifically while you're shaking it, because it adds like more air bubbles and just, yeah. And also cools down the espresso. Then I add my almond milk and that's it. And it's perfect every time.
I love it.
It's so easy and it's so delicious.
Those are so good. Yeah, I've never made it, but I've definitely purchased it lots of times, and they're so yummy. Mm-hmm. So good for you.
That's my drink, and this is my second one today. All right, now that we have that super important information tucked away, I'm such a sucker for beverages. Let us know what you guys are drinking today. But probably in more important news, we're going to talk about these engagement rings, but before we even get into this information, we need you to know who is kind of bringing some of this information, because as much as we work in the industry and love the wedding industry, there are other people who know far more than we do. So actually, someone on our staff at Here Comes the Guide, Mary Claire Newcomb, she is a jewelry professional or worked in the engagement ring industry before she came to us at Here Comes the Guide. And she still works in the jewelry industry as a designer, as a teacher. She's also actually a metalsmith, and that once resulted in her having to wear an eye patch for a little while. She's truly the only person we know who can pull off an eye patch like she did. But all of the pro tips on this episode are from her, and she really is bringing a lot of this industry knowledge. So we're really excited to include this special information for you because it adds a lot of helpful tips.
Yeah, Mary Claire's awesome. She knows so much about this subject. And one thing about Here Comes the Guide that's so cool is, of course, we work in the wedding industry, but before working at Here Comes the Guide, so many of us came from different facets of the wedding industry. So there's lots of people on our team that have little bits of knowledge in so many of the different areas, which is so exciting. So as we make more episodes, we're excited to bring that expert advice in. And so Mary Claire will be sharing lots of pro tips that we'll be sharing pro tips from Mary Claire throughout this episode that she's given to us. And she helped us, like Caroline said, write this whole episode. So lots of juicy stuff in here, and lots of new information to us as well. We're not engagement ring experts, but we're excited to share all of this information. So we're going to start off with the 4 C's. So if you're considering buying a diamond, you want to start with the basics. The diamond industry uses 4 factors, and that's cut, color, clarity, and carat. To grade diamonds, so these are used to grade those diamonds, and it's based on quality, rarity, and value. Each of the 4 C's factor into a diamond's beauty and the brilliance, and it gives you a framework to evaluate the quality and the cost.
So the first C that we're going to talk about is cut. And when you hear the words diamonds cut, you might think about things like princess cut, cushion cut, emerald cut. But the diamond cut actually refers to how brilliantly the diamond's facets or angles interact, basically how they sparkle with light. So a diamond's cut is evaluated by the precise symmetry, proportion, dimension, and polish of the stone. So Mary Claire tells us in her pro tip that actually only round diamonds are graded for cut and all of its math. Cut is a measure of light refraction, which the human eye really can't discern at all. You'll want to buy a very good or higher cut grade for that rainbow sparkle you imagine when you think of a diamond.
So the next C that we're going to talk about is color. So with diamonds, actually the less color that's in the diamond, the better. So per the GIA, a chemically pure and structurally perfect diamond has no hue. It's like a drop of pure water. Consequently, it has a higher value. Ideally, you'll want your diamonds to be colorless. Assessing color in diamonds is kind of like buying white paint. So you might look at white and say like, that's white. But as you start to compare all of the different whites, you'll see that there are lots of different hues involved. And like I said, diamonds are really similar with this. So the Gemological Institute of America, that's the GIA, they have a D to Z diamond color grading system, which measures the degree of colorlessness. So while it can be hard to discern with the naked eye, it can really impact the bottom line. So how much it's worth depending on how much color or how much little color a diamond has in it.
So we're going to be including some of these images to give you a better idea of what we're talking about. And so this is the one that we're going to talk about in terms of diamond color, which is really helpful because Mary Claire's pro tip kind of talks through some of these grading scales. So H to Z is yellowish, which she says is an especially unfortunate option if the diamond will be set in yellow gold, which I never thought about, but that's probably so true.
Yeah.
And then G is the best value overall because it's really, really white without getting into the colorless range. And D to F are considered colorless, and they are very difficult to discern from one another. So I like that she says basically if you get to that highest grade of near colorless, that's a really great option because I don't know, I've looked at so many of my friends' engagement rings and I never would have thought about color, but thinking about it in this way,
Me either.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, these are a lot of things that we've never really thought about before, but there's a ton that goes into this.
Yeah.
Of course there is. So
if you're listening to this episode before you get your engagement ring or you're still trying to figure out these factors, this is great because there's a lot that goes into it, and things that I didn't even think about before I got my engagement ring. So kudos to you if you're figuring it out now. The next thing we're going to talk about is clarity. And so there's a quote by Henry Kissinger: "A diamond is just a chunk of coal that did well under pressure." And it's true. Natural diamonds are formed from carbon under intense heat and pressure deep within the Earth's crust. So naturally, they're going to have a few imperfections. And the diamond industry refers to these as inclusions. So according to the GIA, diamond clarity refers to the absence of inclusions and blemishes. The GIA Diamond Clarity Scale has 6 categories and 11 grades, ranging from flawless to included.
So, a pro tip from Mary Claire: clarity is about rarity. If you're choosing a round diamond, it's invisible unless you get down to the slightly included range. So, when they're tiny inclusions, so tiny imperfections, which all diamonds will have when they're under a 20 times magnification, when they start becoming visible to the naked eye, a very slightly included and internally flawless diamond will look identical in person. They're just going to be different under magnification. So as long as your stone looks eye clean and sparkly, you're good to go. Okay, the last C of the 4 C's is carat. So does size matter? And yes, when it comes to diamonds, it does matter. Carat measures how much a diamond weighs, with a metric carat being defined as 200 milligrams. According to the GIA, all else being equal, diamond price increases with diamond carat weight because larger diamonds are rarer and more desirable. However, if 2 diamonds of equal carat weight they can have very different values and prices depending on 3 factors of the diamond 4 C's. So, depending on all of those factors, diamonds of those different sizes can vary in price.
Yeah. And that's why, like, you have to take into account all 4 C's, because not just one of these factors is going to affect all of it. Like, they all work together. And Mary Claire's pro tip in terms of carats is that you can stay just shy of that full carat and save a lot of money. So, for example, if you were to get a 0.9 carat round diamond, that's about 0.02 millimeters smaller than a 1 carat. So there's not going to be much different in size, but you could actually save a ton of money this way. Even if you're just shy at 0.98 carats, you're still going to be saving more money than getting a 1 carat, and it's going to be an imperceptible difference. So just that as a pro tip, if you are trying to shoot around that 1 carat range but want to save a little bit of money, that's a really great way to do it. And also, when you're investing in a diamond, I know we've talked a lot about the GIA, the Gemological Institute of America. I have to look at that word gemological every time I say it. There's also the American Gem Society, but when you're investing in a diamond, you'll want to get one certified or accredited by a laboratory such as one of those. This certification provides proof of carat weight, cut, color grade, clarity, and more to ensure the quality and value of your diamond. So as we're talking about this, as we're talking about these different institutes, just know that when you're investing in a diamond, it's good to have one that's certified or accredited by one of these places.
Definitely. Next, we're going to talk about stone shapes. So, diamond and other gemstone shapes describe the geometric appearance of the face of the stone, from timeless round brilliant cut to the elegant emerald cut and even fancy shaped heart cut. Each stone shape has its own distinct style and sparkle. We've laid out 12 of the most popular stone shapes in an image that we're going to pop on the screen here. If you're listening to us, audio only, you'll be able to see this in the video version if you want to check that out, or we'll have all of the images that we reference in this episode on the episode page on our website, so you can check it out there. The thing about stone shapes is that they may affect the clarity. For example, it's easier to spot inclusions or imperfections on step cut shapes like emeralds and baguettes. Brilliant cuts like a round or oval tend to hide these imperfections better, and they tend to sparkle more. Truly, though, stone shape is going to come down to your personal preference and style, whatever you want to choose and whatever you lean more towards there. All rings are beautiful.
Yeah. All right, the next thing we're going to talk about is a diamond simulant. So if you want a diamond, great. You have a lot of options, actually, even just within the diamond category. So the first thing to consider if choosing a diamond engagement ring is, do you want a natural one, which is mined from the earth and pure carbon, or a laboratory grown diamond, which is created in a lab but also pure carbon. They are chemically and visually identical, but one is taking the lead as the more environmentally friendly option, and is more ethically focused, and that's the lab created option. They are something to consider as well in terms of your budget because they can be up to 50 to 80% less than mined diamonds, and again, look exactly the same. So if you want a diamond but can't afford the real deal, even if you can't afford earth or lab created, there's also another option that is really close, and that is moissanite. Moissanite has a great story, and this is according to Brilliant Earth. Moissanite is a gemstone born from the stars. It was first discovered in 1893 by a French scientist named Henri Moissan, who later won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry. He discovered microscopic particles of the gem that would eventually bear his name in Arizona, in a crater created by a meteorite that fell to Earth. He initially thought that he had discovered diamonds, but later determined that the crystals were composed of silicon carbide. So natural moissanite is super rare, but it's also pretty much all lab created nowadays, and it's far cheaper than a diamond. It's a great alternative because it's more affordable, incredibly sparkly, and still has that high degree of durability.
Yeah, moissanite's really cool. I've like seen like on Instagram and stuff like the comparisons. Like, can you tell which one's a diamond and which one's moissanite? And usually I can't tell. So yeah, it's a really good option. And speaking of that, there are diamond alternatives. So moissanite is included in that, but non-diamond rings, they can be set with things like sapphires and rubies. These have been experiencing a real resurgence recently. Some of the most notable historic engagement rings actually have 9-diamond centers. Princess Diana, which is Diana's ring, which is now Kate Middleton's, 12-carat oval sapphire. And sapphires were actually the original stone preference for engagement rings. It's a fun fact. And that's where the something blue phrase came from. So I love that. I think that's a really cool. I never knew where that something blue came from. So I love that fact. But if you don't want a diamond or even a diamond look-alike, you can consider one of these colorful gemstones. You can keep in mind that some gemstones, though, are too delicate for everyday wear. Yeah. So you'll want to keep with some that are 7 or higher on Mohs hardness scale. Some of the durable options include emeralds, rubies, sapphires, moissanite, and aquamarines. Hi, Kat.
Hello, sir. He loves chit-chatting with us. Okay, another thing to keep in mind while you're choosing your ring is the setting that it's going to be in. So according to Diamond Nexus, while the stone is arguably the show-stopping centerpiece of an engagement ring, the ring setting can enhance everything from cut to color, make a small stone appear larger, and even safeguard stones against damage or loss. So yeah, this setting is kind of a big deal, and it can determine the entire style of your ring. So there are things like channel set to diamond encrusted halo settings to simple solitaire prong settings. And each of these have a very distinct style and also different ways of securing the stones to the band. So then how do you choose the right setting? Besides personal style, which is probably a huge factor, lifestyle is actually really important to think about here as well. Just like we talked about with diamond alternatives, that you need to make sure the stone is going to be durable. You also want to make sure your setting makes sense and is durable for everyday life. So let's say you're a spin class junkie, you enjoy rock climbing as well, you're throwing pottery. You may not want to have a band or a setting that's going to be diamond encrusted. My example for that, I think I've told the story on another episode, is I have a friend who her engagement ring had small diamonds encrusted on her band, but she's very athletic and was lifting in the gym one day, didn't take off her ring. Her ring bent and she lost some of the diamonds that were in it, which is so sad. She was able to get it fixed and it was totally fine, but that's just something you want to think about for your setting. Like, is that going to be something that makes sense for your everyday life? So choosing something that makes sense and can stand up to your activity level is really important. And we do have this image provided so you can think about some different options for ring settings.
Yeah, or like even being okay, like if your heart is set on something that's really more fragile or like not like, you know, equipped to lift with you in the gym, like be okay with switching it out for like one of those little rubber bands or something.
Yeah, I actually decided with mine, I have diamonds along the side of my engagement ring band, but then I decided the first option that they presented to us was a matching band with like the diamonds on the wedding band, but I decided to go with something that was complementary so that if I wanted to take my engagement ring off to preserve it, I could still keep my wedding band on and not be as worried about it getting damaged. So that was one thing that I chose of like, I have like a in between because I love that style of like having the diamond encrusted band, but I didn't want both of them to be like that, I guess.
Next, we're going to talk about ring metals. Once you land on your stone and your setting, you have one more style choice left. So you're going to choose which precious metal that you want. The most popular choices are yellow gold, white gold, rose gold, and platinum. Yellow gold is a time-honored choice since it never changes color and it's super classic. You'll want to opt for 14 to 18 karat gold for optimal strength and durability. Rose gold is also a great choice because it contains no nickel and it doesn't tarnish. So that's a great one as well.
And then there's white gold, which is among the gold options. White gold currently reigns probably the most popular choice. White gold is actually yellow gold with nickel and other metals added to make it whiter. And then it's plated in rhodium for a bright white shine. I actually didn't know that, and I have white gold. Many clients are surprised that white gold is plated and that it needs to be reapplied every few years. Otherwise, it slowly wears off and the metal has a yellowish hue. But it's an easy process, and it can be done at most local jewelers. And it's also important to note that if you are allergic to nickel, like I just mentioned, that white gold contains nickel, and as that plating wears off, the nickel can become exposed and might cause an allergic reaction if you're allergic to nickel. So just something to note. And then another white metal option is platinum. But the difference between platinum and white gold is that platinum is a denser metal, so it's heavier and rarer, and it makes it more expensive. So platinum contains no nickel though, and it does not need replating. However, because it's not plated, its surface scratches more easily than that of white gold, and over time it can take on a duller silver finish, similar to that of sterling.
Mary Claire's pro tip here is that gold and platinum are used for jewelry because they are soft and malleable metals. That's something that you always want to remember. It's understandable that you never want to take your ring off. However, there are a few instances where it's best to place your ring in a box for safekeeping. So if you are going to go rock climbing, or you're going to do pottery or lift something really heavy in the gym, opt for one of those bands, if like one of those little rubber bands, like I said before, that can like just be a placeholder for your ring while you keep it safe. Or you can wear nothing at all. That's fine too, whatever your preference is. But she recommends definitely having a designated spot. Designated spot's important. You don't want to lose it. But having a special spot to put your ring while you do these dangerous ring activities is a really good idea.
Yeah.
So that nothing bad happens to it. You want to treat it like an expensive, heartfelt gift because that's exactly what it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we've gone over a lot of things in terms of carat, cut, the 4Cs. We've talked about settings. We've talked about metal and whatever else. But we still might have some questions that are lingering, like how do you choose the right ring style? And if your partner hasn't explicitly told you, you might find some other avenues around that. You can look at their jewelry stash to see what their style is, or maybe you can at least see, are they a gold or a silver jewelry person? Okay, great. Like, let's start there. And then you could also ask their closest friends or family members if they've mentioned anything to them. You can straight up just ask your partner, because if you don't mind ruining the element of surprise, then they will have a bigger say in it. What my husband and I did is we looked at a variety of different rings together, and I said what I liked and I didn't like. I didn't pick out any of them specifically. I kind of noted a couple that I loved and let him choose from there. Keep your ears and eyes open to any hints that they might be giving. They might have a Pinterest board that you can go and check out. And really, at the end of the day, just trust your gut. There are several ways to go about choosing the right ring, finding that information that helps you figure out the type of ring your partner will love. So take your time, do some research, ultimately trust your gut.
Another question you might be asking is, how do I figure out the right ring size? So you want to figure out at least a ballpark of the ring size that you're going to be shopping for before you buy a ring. There are a few things that you can do. You could sneak one of your partner's rings and take it to a jeweler and figure out the size. But beware of doing this, because I know, like, I'm wearing a ring right now, but I'm definitely not wearing it on my engagement ring finger. And that finger is skinnier than my other finger. So it might not be the right size, but you can take a whack at it that way. You could ask your your partner's closest friends or family members, if they know their ring size, I can pretty much guarantee that my friends and family do not know my ring size. Caroline, do you know my ring size?
No, no idea.
No, so you might not have a ton of luck there, but it's worth asking. You could also, if you don't care about ruining the surprise, once again, you could just ask your partner if they know their ring size. I don't even know my ring. Like, I don't know. So, like, I would probably be no help there either, and then the surprise is ruined. So there's lots of different paths you can take, but I think it's important to know that as long as you have a general ballpark with ring size, you're going to be okay. It's super common to get rings resized after you've proposed.
Yeah.
And usually, depending on where you buy your ring, they'll do this for free or even at like a super low cost. So this is like a routine occurrence. So no need to worry. If you are kind of between sizes, it's best to go a little bigger rather than smaller. It's much easier to size down than it is to size up, just with like most things. So keep that in mind. But I would say don't stress too much about getting the perfect ring size. Even throughout life, people, like bodies change, stuff changes. People have to get their rings resized years into their marriage. Not a big deal. Don't stress too much about the size, I think. So,
yeah, I agree. Another question you might be asking yourself is, how do I afford an engagement ring? And I know there's been this long-standing thought of like, you should spend 3 months' salary on an engagement ring, which
that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money, and I really don't think that's true anymore. Like, there's no rules, so it just depends on your current financial situation and your preferences. So Mary Claire swears that you can get an incredibly beautiful ring at an affordable price with the right jewelry professional. So she says, I think the one thing I walked away from this industry surprised by is that if someone knows what they're doing, they can make an engagement ring that is $3,000 look identical to one that is $10,000. So be firm about your budget and stick to it, which I think is a really, really great advice. And there are also other options for finding affordable engagement rings, including like the diamond alternatives that we talked about. You can use a family heirloom or an antique vintage ring, opting for one that's under full carat weight when purchasing a diamond, and then scouring websites like Etsy for unique yet affordable rings. So there are so many beautiful but also budget-friendly engagement ring options available, and there's no reason to go into debt just to propose, because we all know what happens after you propose. You're going to plan a wedding, so it gets even more expensive. And even like we've talked about before, that some couples will opt to do an elopement before doing a big party later. You could totally upgrade your ring in the future. Start with something now and then get your dream ring at the right time.
Yeah, that's totally an option, which this is going to be maybe not for every couple. I know for some people this would be an ideal situation, and some people it would be like not so much.
Yes.
But an idea is that you could have like a placeholder or even like a loaner ring for the proposal if you really want to keep that element of surprise about the proposal factor. It's kind of a cool idea. Like you could propose with a ring and then say like, hey, I know that you're going to be wearing this forever, hopefully. And like, so we should go pick this out together. You should design exactly what you want. It's going to be something that you look at every single day. So yeah, that's definitely something that you could explore if that sounds like something that your partner would like. But keep in mind, this might be like kind of a disappointment to your partner too. I think personally I would be disappointed if like I was proposed to with a ring and they said like, oop, nope, you can't keep that. That's a loaner. So like I think I would like, so yeah, just
depends.
Read the room. You know your partner. Like you know what they would like. So
yeah,
I mean, hopefully at this point, if you're going to propose, you should,
right.
know about them, like the kinds of things that matter the most to them. So
yeah, I have a friend who kind of similarly, like they proposed and she didn't love the ring, so but like her fiance, he was totally fine being like, yeah, let's just go get whatever you want. So it kind of ended up being like a placeholder until she could pick out what she wanted. I have another friend who her engagement ring wasn't exactly what she had pictured in her head, but now she'll never upgrade it or get rid of it because it's like so sentimental too. So it would be hard to, I think, propose and be like all of a sudden get attached, but like you'd have to tell your partner right away like this isn't it, and I feel like that takes away, I don't know if it would be good for me, but I have seen it work for other people.
I can see the appeal for sure. I think I get very like sentimentally attached to like moments, and
Yeah.
like I give like inanimate objects like probably more meaning than like needed. So just
Hmm.
keep in mind that that's not for everybody, but for some
Yeah.
people it might seriously be the ideal situation that they get to have control over exactly what it's going to look like. So
Yeah.
another question you might be asking is, should I buy the ring online or in store? There's benefits to both, but whether you buy an engagement ring online or at a brick and mortar jewelry store will just come down to your personal preference
Hmm.
and the way that you like to shop. So, buying online can probably save you some money since online retailers have almost zero overhead compared to these traditional stores.
Hmm.
You also get to shop an infinite selection of rings online. You can compare prices, all kinds of stuff just from your couch. You just want to make sure that if you are purchasing online that you're reviewing their shipping and their return policies, and you want to receive a GIA or AGS certificate with your diamonds. So you want to make sure you really know what you're getting. Make
Hmm.
sure the site looks legitimate. Do research before you actually make a purchase online with
Yeah.
any online purchase, but especially an engagement ring. Buying in person is also great because you can not only compare the rings with your own eyes. I know there's a huge difference between looking at a picture of a diamond and seeing the sparkle of a diamond in
Hmm.
real life. You can walk into a jeweler and ask really specific questions. You can get expert advice and work with them to get the most bang for your buck. I'd personally love to work with Mary Claire if she says that she can make
Yeah.
a $3,000 ring appear as though it is a $10,000 ring. So
Hmm.
keep that in mind. You'll get like a much probably more customized experience if you're doing it in person
Yes.
shopping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a pro tip here is that you can ask your friends and family for recommendations on reputable local jewelers that they trust, or even online ones if they had great experiences, whatever it is. And if buying a diamond, finding a store that has GIA certified gemologists on staff. I know we've said this a ton, but that really is ideal because you know that you're getting someone who is highly trained in grading and pricing jewelry. This worked out for us because my husband ended up working with a store that my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, where they got their ring. It's actually an international store, so that was something that we probably wouldn't have gone with that option to begin with, but because of their experience and yeah, like from that word of mouth recommendation, that was super helpful for us, and we also had a great experience. So looking for people you know and trust and love that they had a good experience, that can be a helpful way of finding where to buy that ring.
Mm-hmm.
So, another question you might be asking is, should you insure your engagement ring? Short answer, yes. Absolutely. Because if you've made an investment in an engagement ring, you should absolutely insure it. You can look into things like homeowners insurance, renters insurance, or just a simple jewelry insurance policy. And it's not usually that expensive. It's typically 1 to 2% of the total value of the ring and can be a lifesaver if you lose it. We talk about this in a little bit more detail in one of our other episodes, so check that out if you want more info.
Yeah, we've talked about this lots. I think in our like budgeting episodes we
I think,
mention
yeah.
insuring rings. So, yeah, definitely check those out if that's
Yeah.
something that you're thinking about. Last, you might be wondering, how do you pull off the perfect proposal? We have an article on this that we will link in the episode page on our website, so you can check that out. But we have lots of ideas for planning an epic proposal, so you can check out that article, and then maybe in the future we'll do an episode on that
Yeah.
too. It sounds really fun. So
Mm-hmm.
let us know if you'd like to see that. But yeah, definitely check out that article for proposal ideas. There's lots
Yes.
there to look at.
All right. This is a very comprehensive guide to engagement rings. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, really don't worry. There's going to be lots of resources
Yeah,
that
we are too.
yeah, like honestly, we still are kind of like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, there's so much information that goes into
There's a
this.
lot of info.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But you can find all of the information that we talked about today in multiple different places. So reference back to it if you need to. If you are feeling overwhelmed and you want your partner to figure it out, send this episode to them. Let them figure it out. Or if you want to be the best friend ever, send it to all of your friends' partners. And then everybody else has the information, and then you can just rest and relax.
And everyone is going to get engaged.
Yes,
So,
yes.
very exciting times. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and good luck with engagement ring shopping and hopefully wedding planning. So as you're shopping and as you're wedding planning, please share any highlights with us. We would love to hear from you. We love to share with our little Guide Gals community. You can find us on Instagram at the Guide Gals Podcast. You can watch us on the Here Comes the Guide YouTube channel at Here Comes the Guide. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts as the Guide Gals Podcast. And lastly, you can visit our website, theguidegalspodcast.com. Here you can check out our show notes. You can come back to any episode and dive deep into everything that we mentioned. You can also always drop us a line if you want to chat more, if you have questions for us, if you have episode suggestions. We would love to hear from you there. We also have lots of planning resources, our full episode library, lots of good stuff on our website.
Seriously, take us up on that. Let us know what you want to hear. Let us know how engagement ring shopping is going. If you have additional questions about this specific episode or others, we really want you to take us up on that offer. We want to hang out and really walk alongside you in this process. So hopefully we'll see you over on socials or on our website or wherever else it may be. We have more episodes to come. Very excited about it. Until then, though,
Cheers.
Cheers.